Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for not-so-serious weird news, TV and movie reviews, and some paranormal shenanigans. We'll also take dives into what's going on in pop culture. You can follow us on Twitter at creepin_it, on Facebook at facebook.com/creepinitrealshow, and you can also shoot us an email at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show. I'm one of your hosts, Yardley, live and direct from a balmy Atlanta, Georgia, and I need to bring in my co-host, Christy, from literally up the street. How you doing?
Yeah, good. I like how you titled it Balmy. Doing well. I just sneezed about 20 times, so my voice probably sounds weird. I don't know why I sneezed 20 times, but it was very disturbing. So, I'm not sure how my allergies are gonna do. Apparently, I'm having like late seasonal allergies, but yes, I am ready to talk about a kick-ass to me show and hear everybody else's opinions that probably hate it. So let's do this.
All right. How you doing out on the left coast?
I'm good. I'm fresh out the winery from the day, so that was a nice treat for me. And I think I do speak for all of our listeners when I say that we could listen to Yardley saying the word balmy in that voice over and over again, for sure.
Balmy.
Oh.
Balmy.
Balmy.
Anyway.
Well, speechless now.
No, right? I ruined it.
Balmy cat got his tongue.
So today we're going to be talking about Fear Street, which premiered on Netflix. I think it was on July the 17th. It's a 3-part series, and essentially this story, it's about Sarah Fear, a woman who placed a curse on the town of Shadyside before being executed for witchcraft in 1666. And this story, it has a timeline that goes from 1994, but it goes backwards to 1666, and then closes with a return back to 1994. So, y'all ready to dive in?
Hell yeah.
Okay. Well, Fear Street Part 1 starts off in 1994, and we begin the movie with Heather Watkins. She's a bookstore employee and resident of Shadyside. Shadyside in this story is considered the murder capital of the country. I didn't necessarily catch if they even mentioned where this was located. I don't think they did. Did either of you here? Like here, it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't Detroit.
No.
I don't think that they said.
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
Okay, so Heather Watkins ends up being unexpectedly murdered by one of her friends, and this friend ends up going on to kill several other people who work in the mall. And during this attack, he ends up being killed by a policeman that shows up, which is actually, since Heather is the first kill, the way that she was killed and the way that they showed it, do you feel like it set the tone for the rest of the 1994 episode?
Music, style, very Scream-esque, the movie franchise Scream-esque, the way that they pulled that off. I was pretty excited at the beginning of the first one because it hit all the fun 90s notes.
And I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little choppy because I'm drinking some scotch, some Macallan 12.
Are we all? Oh, this is going to be a great show.
Thought I was fancy coming off wine slushies.
I mean, it's a trip because I also ended up getting some new headphones, and they're like the noise canceling, so I can't really tell when I'm speaking into the mic. It's just weird. But anyway, it's a little bit of the 12-year and a little bit of these headphones if I'm a little slow here.
12-year what? 12-year what?
Scotch. Macallan, the Scotch whiskey.
Yep.
I poured it in my coffee. Nice. Old school style. But I think that it set the tone because he was pretty much pummeling the hell out of her chest with with the knife. I was kind of surprised they went there so quick, but I was kind of happy that they did because I was
right to it.
Yeah.
Definitely set the tone for the rest of the show for sure. Like they don't They're not fucking around in the show. That's like,
So after the murderer gets killed, there's a memorial service for Heather. And at that memorial service, a fight ends up breaking out, and it leads to a car chase that ends in an accident. The accident happens to disturb the grave of a woman named Sarah Fear. Now, amongst the teenagers in the town, they think that Shadyside is the way that it is because of the witch Sarah Fear, who placed a curse on the town before being executed. So our main character is introduced. Her name is Dina, and she doesn't believe in the Fear Witch curse. And she also has a younger brother named Josh, who has a crazy interest in kind of looking up the history about Shadyside. It's kind of reminiscent of, I think, the character Ben from the It movies, It Part 2. Kind of reminded me of him. Another pivotal character that we're introduced to is Dina's ex-girlfriend, Sam. So the story goes along a little bit. Sam ends up telling Dina about a vision that she had about Sarah Fear. And Dina and some of the other teens in the area of Shadyside, they realize that Samantha, who is currently a resident of Sunnyvale, which in this story is considered one of the safest places in the country, they figured out that she touched the bones of Sarah Fear after the accident. And this set off a lot of possession events that ends up turning some of the residents of Shadyside into killers. These killers are after Sam, but they can't be stopped by being killed, so to speak, or reburied. That's pretty much how part 1 ends. So what would each of our ratings be for part 1? And of the things that happened in this, because all of them were like, I don't know, they were almost 2 hours apiece.
Yeah.
Which was surprising to me. Did you have any special characters that stood out, either of you, in part 1? And did you have a favorite kill?
The head.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, the bitchy girl's head in the
in the meat grinder thing. Yeah.
And I didn't know they didn't pull any punches in this movie, which I appreciated. But I was like, I don't think they're gonna actually do that, and they did that. So.
Go ahead. You started.
Oh no, just his other question was
rating.
Thoughts on the film, I think. Wow, we are doing well today. Yeah, no, I liked, it was kind of a roller coaster in that it is a longer film. I think it started on a really high note, just really getting to it. And like I said, with the 90s tone. And then it sort of was longer than it needed to be. And I didn't really have a connection to any of the characters in the first one. And then I think at the end, I remember being a little bit disappointed because obviously it's a 3-part series. The people who survive, I was like, oh man, we're going to have to spend like 6 total hours with these characters. Like when you think about that kind of commitment, I was like, ew, I don't even really like these people. But anyway, I liked it well enough. It was a nice, included with my Netflix subscription watch. And what about you, Christy?
Well, I enjoyed I thought it was funny that they had like kind of the pill popper friends. I mean, I think in the 90s, we all kind of had those people in our lives at school. And then I liked all the grocery store scene when they end up at the grocery store. And, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It wasn't my favorite episode, but I thought it was a pretty strong start, because I really had no idea what to expect. So I think my expectations were fairly low in just my complete ignorance of the whole show. And I was intrigued. And I was like, okay. At the end, when I realized this is going to, like, I knew it was a show, but because it was so long, in my head, I was thinking this is just a movie. And so at the end, I was like, well, what's going on here? And then I realized, oh, yeah, it's a show, more episodes to come. And so I was definitely intrigued, and it left me like wanting to watch the next one. So I would say with that, my rating would be, are we out of 5? Or?
Yeah, out of 5. Okay. That's fine.
I would say 3. Like I think sometimes, like, I've been watching a couple of shows and movies lately and really appreciating them because I realize, and I think back to the 90s and I think back to the early 2000s when this is shit we would have to have paid for at a movie theater, back then. And now we've all kind of become, jaded to the fact that we get all this shit for free for like, what, $12 a month. And I think it's very solid. I thought it was a solid story. I really enjoy this concept. It's different. And I am stoked that people keep bringing some new, intriguing, different content to the table. So I got to say, I was a fan. I was enjoying it. The first one, I was like, okay, yeah, this is solid. I could watch it. So that was kind of where I am on part one.
Did you say that we get all this shit for free for $12 a month?
Yeah.
Oh, I said free. I said free with my subscription. Yeah.
No, but like for me,
it came with the pack.
Is like, I think about like all the times, all the money we spent at movie theaters and the popcorn, the alcohol.
It's included in what we're already paying for.
Absolutely.
It's not even a movie ticket for one show these days, and we're churning out Netflix and Hulu and all these like. I mean, they are really fucking churning this shit out. And I'm just like, I cannot complain. So when I see some new shit that first of all, I pirate my Netflix off my in-laws, so I'm not even paying for it.
Oh,
so yes,
that's really free for you. That's like the true meaning of free.
But if they weren't paying for it, I'd buy it. So it isn't like, I'm over here like bucking the system because I don't want it. If I didn't have it, I'd buy it because I'm appreciating it. I'm appreciating all this content and I'm on it. I'm for it. And yes, this is my second vodka tonic. And if anybody has a problem with that, turn the damn show off.
Turn down for what?
You know what? That's what's up. I definitely agree though. We would have been paying out the ass for all the stuff that we
That's true.
That we watch nowadays.
I didn't get to give my rating. Right? Oh, sorry. I totally interrupted you. Go ahead.
No. First of all, give your rating. I was just saying that, the subscription price is pretty negligible considering how much stuff we consume.
It's like the price of like one movie ticket for one person now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Really quick, I just got to say this because we're talking about, but if we sat down and thought about how much it costs to produce this show, and compared it to back in the day when we were paying $30 for a movie, it wouldn't even be, it would be the same. Like the production costs that are going into all these really decent shows and high quality movies that are going straight to streaming are equal to making a movie. So I'm just like, wow, this is pretty fucking awesome. I mean, I don't know what it means for the movie industry, but I'll take it. So, all right. Please give your rating. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries. Actually, the only reason my rating's interesting is because if you had asked me that day, I would have probably given it like a 2.5. But now asking me 3 weeks later in retrospect of the full series, I would say 2.75 or 3. So it got better as the rest of the story kind of came together. I guess if that makes any sense.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly how I feel. Yep.
Well, it's a trifecta. I think the same thing, 2.75. I think the thing that saved it for me was the table saw thing. And what was going on, but why was that there in the mall though? I just didn't really,
oh yeah. Did not even question that part.
Yeah, I'm just like,
why would there be a table saw in the middle of the mall?
It wouldn't put it past me in the 90s. Though.
I didn't think it was in the mall. No? I thought it was the grocery store. So they went to the grocery store for the pills or for something. And it was like the place
or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think that was in the mall. I don't.
So it must have been if that's the case, then it must have been something for the meat. It's just weird. For some reason in my head, it didn't seem like it was in a grocery store. But anyway, it was pretty dope. That was totally my favorite kill. And that's what made me say, okay, I want to see what's going to happen in the next installment. But I wasn't really sure with them going backwards, how it was going to work. But it worked good enough. So speaking on the next episode, which is Fear Street Part 2, this takes place in 1978. So as the story kind of jumps off, we find out that the events of 1994, that Dina's girlfriend Sam ended up possessed, and that was one of the reasons why she was having those visions. And they end up traveling to the house of a Shadyside resident named C. Berman. They're trying to get some information on the murders that happened in 1978. Being a little bit reluctant, Berman allows them inside and begins recounting the events of the Camp Nightwing massacre. So back in 1978, this story follows Ziggy Berman and her friends, and they discover a diary which says that Sarah Fear made a deal with the devil by cutting her hand on Satan's stone, thereby earning eternal life. They end up finding a map inside a diary that leads to Fear's old house, where they discover the witch's mark below the house, and they find a wall carved with the names of all the Shadyside killers, even the most recent ones. They end up coming across a pile of beating organs, and Alice, one of the friends, ends up touching it, and it gives her flashbacks of all the past killers and their victims. The three girls, they attempt to end the curse by reuniting Sarah Fear's hand with her body, and Ziggy suddenly starts bleeding on the hand, and she sees a vision of Sarah Fear as well. This ends up triggering the curse, and it starts to resurrect several Shadyside killers. So Dina and one of her friends, Josh, they end up realizing that this C. Berman that they just met is Ziggy, whose real name is Christine. They end up telling her that they found the witch's body, and now, with the hand, they can end the curse. So we find out that the camp where Sarah Fear was murdered was turned into Shadyside Mall. It closes out with Dina reuniting the body with the hand, and Dina's nose ends up bleeding, and she sees a vision where she's in 1666 as Sarah Fear. So part 2 has a couple of recognizable faces. I think the young lady from Stranger Things.
Yes.
Yes.
That's her, the sister of the guy, yes. The psycho. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's Ziggy. Yes.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because you can tell that all of those kids, because I've seen movies with all of the kids that were in Stranger Things, and like they're all like straight grown now. You know, I watched Godzilla versus Kong, and what is her name? Millie Bobby Brown. She's like 7'3". Yeah, you know, she's really grown. And then the young man who played Lucas, he was in that Netflix movie with Idris Elba, and he's like a grown man now. So it's going to be interesting on that front. But also, she has grown up a lot as well. How did you feel like she did? Was this the first movie or series that you've seen her in outside of Stranger Things?
Yeah.
I think
it was for me. Yeah. It was for me. Yeah.
And I feel bad because I totally thought that I put her name in the show notes, but apparently I did not. But I will find that the next time both of you are talking. But for the most part, part 2. I thought part 2 of all of the 3, I think that part 2 had some of the best pacing. You know, I think the strongest pacing was in part 3, but I think that it had the best pacing, and it actually had a lot more murders in this one than part 1. So starting with you, Christy, how would you rate part 2? And did you have a favorite kill or a favorite character? Because they introduced a few.
Well, I'll start with my favorite characters, favorite kills. This was my favorite episode, and I really enjoyed where they got into like the underground part with all the like toilet. introducing like the witch's cave and the weird thing that was basically like beating like a heart, and the dynamic between the sister and the two sisters, which Ziggy and her sister, and then her sister and her best friend, and how she had tried so hard to be like a, not the shady side, but the other, what is it called? Not shady side.
Sunny side?
Is it Sunnyside?
Sunnyvale.
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 Good thinking about it.
Sunnyside.
Sunnyside up.
Pigs.
I'm
Sunnyside.
hungry.
But tried to kind of live her life like that because she knew kind of in her heart that Shady Side's kind of doomed. And is that right? Am I saying Shady? Is it Shady Side?
Yeah, I'm laughing at myself. I'm sorry.
No,
You're
I'm
fine.
just making sure. Because now I'm second guessing myself. I really liked the story. I'm not a slasher film type person, but this had like really good in-depth plot to it that I really enjoyed. And I thought the nurse's story was really cool because she was kind of fucked up and weird and of course kind of kick-started the whole thing. And, when you finish this episode, you think you know what's going on and you're like, okay, yeah, but you really don't. But I really enjoyed it. I would say my favorite character was Ziggy. I just really enjoyed her story. She's kind of the black sheep and gets her ass in trouble all the time, which is pretty much me as that age. So not that I'm like, it's about me. I just enjoyed her character. And yeah, no, I loved it. I thought it was a great episode. And that one got me like hooked. Like I was like, okay, this is solid. So I'm going to give this one a 3.5 on the episode. I really enjoyed it. I liked it.
All right, Moni. How'd you feel about it, Moni?
I would give it a 3 or 3.25. It was my favorite of the trilogy, and I liked the actors/characters better. I was now understanding time and place as far as like the story and the context from the one before and everything else. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I like what they did with like the multiple different kinds of killers, how it sort of like didn't pull any punches with violence and all that, but also didn't take itself super seriously either. Thought that was a nice balance since you have to be a good, really well done film to take yourself super seriously. And this is not the most well done, like, plot and everything else. So I think it was perfect for what it was. And yeah, I'm trying to think of like which kill in this one, but I think the meat grinder just sticks out of my head so much. Sticks out of my head, pun intended. That I can't think of like any others that were like, whoa, notable that way.
Well, I don't know. There was that one girl. I think they were in it was in a house, but she took an axe to the throat and then she slipped down and then he axed her throat again. And the way that her body moved, I thought that was pretty, I actually rewound that like a few times. Like that was a pretty good. That was
a pretty good practical effects for sure.
They really did do a great job. That had to have been somehow it had to be a prosthetic and then they digitally did something to that. Like I can't figure out how they did it, but for me, I would give it a 3 as well. I thought the pacing was good. Ziggy was a good character. I just have no idea how she made it out of that situation at the end. I was like, wow, she's done for it. I really did think that they were going to close it out, but it's got a few surprises in it. But like I said, pacing wise, this one might not have felt as much like it was 2 hours only because there was a lot more action, so to speak. A lot more people got killed. But the one thing that I don't really like about the series is, whenever they're going from 94 to 1978, it's so many new characters. And I think you might have mentioned this earlier, like you don't get attached to any of them because they're in a whole different, a whole different generational, area of time. So you meet these characters once and then when they get whacked, you're just like, I don't really, outside of Ziggy or Dina or somebody that you actually see through each of the parts. So I didn't really feel connected, but they definitely did a great job on some slasher type stuff. So I think it's solid at that point, and it's really more solid to me than the first one. So we are going to go to part 3, which is 1666. So part 3 is a flashback to the story of Sarah Fier through the eyes of Dina. And it actually shows how the curse first started. So kind of reminiscent of the Salem witch trials. Sarah was essentially executed for lying with the devil and corruption after she found out that the pilgrim ancestor of Sheriff Nick Good. Now, Sheriff Nick Good is a character that we see in the previous two installments. In the 1978 part of this, he is a young man, and I guess him and Ziggy kind of for a split second, it looks like they were gonna be a thing
going on.
Yeah. before everything went off the rails. So his ancestor ended up making a deal with the devil, after which a fight ends up ensuing with Sarah Fear, and she ends up losing her hand. And it's the hand that was found in part one when Sam was in that accident. And afterwards, Sarah is kind of framed to cover his tracks of being a person who made a deal with the devil. But that fight scene, and this is my best kill, and it's not even a kill. It was when her hand came off when they were fighting, and her hand. That one actually hurt. That one hurt to watch. You know what I'm saying? And of course, in true old school style, she just throws a towel over it and is like, "Fine, for the rest
I'm good." Heal your flesh wound.
But essentially, the deal that Nick Good's descendant made with the devil, it basically ensures that the Good family and all of their descendants, they end up trading the people in Shadyside by giving a name to the devil, and the devil takes over that person, and they end up murdering so that the devil can feed off the blood of dead Shadysiders. So with that exchange, the Good family pretty much gets whatever they want generationally, and they end up passing down this evil, with Sunnyvale prospering and Shadyside becoming more and more of a wreck of a town. And basically, part 3 closes out with Dina having a showdown with Sheriff Nick Good and the curse being broken and the sheriff being exposed for all of his crimes. Was that ending satisfying for y'all at all? Like, you know, just the way it closed out. I mean, it closed out in a nice little bow, but you would think that there would be a little bit more, you know, aftermath of this stuff.
I think at this point in the series, I wasn't expecting a masterpiece, you know. But it definitely was like a nice snack or dessert as opposed to your meal. But yeah, no, I thought it was good. I was satisfied with it, and I told myself I came around to liking the whole thing better than I expected to, kind of after the first one. Part 3, at least the first half, was really slow for me. I don't know if you all felt that way, but a lot of dark colors and drab places and talkie-talkie, but overall it was pretty good.
What would you rate it, Money?
Let's see. We gave number 2 like a 3 or a 3.25. So let's go like 3.25 for number 2 and 3 for number 3.
All right. Christy, how'd you feel about the way about 1666?
Well, I surprisingly enjoyed it. First of all, I didn't know it was only 3 episodes. So I thought this was just the 1666 episode, and we were going to get more, because you have like the singing lady that was like a murderer that hummed or sang when she killed. There were other murderers that whenever you woke them up from the dead that would come out. So I thought we were going to get a story about all of them. So I had no idea that part 3 was the end. So I was watching the 1666 episode thinking this is just the story about 1666. Then they're going to tackle the other eras. So all the 1666 stuff got worked out. And then it moved into like present, or not present, but the 94. So I was like, okay. And it surprised me because I was just, I thought we were going to have more to it. But I thought it was good. I love old shit. I love period pieces, dramas, and all that. So I was into the betrayals and the ins and outs and relationships and people of that era. I know you guys think that it wasn't a good plot development, but I was pretty invested in Dina and Sam for the most part. and appreciated their commitment to each other. Well, Dina's commitment to Sam. Sam's possessed, so she's not really in the commitment mode at that moment. But yeah, and I thought it was really interesting because it kind of told me that all these lives and all these experiences, it's kind of to me like a past lives thing. Like it seems to me like these are lives lived over and over and over again because of this curse and keep being murdered or are murderers or, just keep continuously coming back at Shadyside in one capacity or another. So I kind of got invested in it that way. And yeah, I enjoyed the story. I loved whenever they switched back to the present day, or not present day, but 94. And yeah, I mean, I didn't have any problem with the good family thing. I felt like if you're going to do it in 3 episodes, that's really, you can't get too crazy. But, there was some, surprises along the way, and I liked it. I'd say I would give part 3 a 3.25.
Okay, I'd give it a 3.5. It was actually my favorite of all of the three.
Good.
I like that period, and then also the kind of the nod to the Salem witch trials. I know that type of stuff is definitely up Moni's alley as well, because I think you watch Salem, that series, as well.
I'm agreeing on mute. Yes, I just finished watching Salem. So.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it kind of reminded me of that, but I definitely think that one was solid. Like I said, I don't necessarily have a particular kill in this. It was just her losing her hand. I thought that was pretty gruesome, but it was great how they pulled that off. And overall, I think the series is solid, but I agree with Christy that it was a little long-winded. It was a little long, and I think that it suffered by jumping to these different periods. Now, they tried to do the little trick of when they were having their flashbacks and they would jump to a different period, sometimes they would use some of the same characters, like, Josh's brother was Dina's brother Josh was in the 1666 playing a character as well. They would do that. I don't think it really happened in part 2 as much, but I think that it suffered from jumping to these different timelines. I would probably think that the time would have been better reserved to develop some of the more interesting characters that they had in it. But it's definitely worth a watch, and it's, like we said, it's like 6 hours. So if you have the time, I would definitely say to check out Fear Street. So overall, I'm pretty sure that we're all in agreement that it was, at worst, it was solid.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was a great watch. Right. Yeah. I don't get overly critical about my quote unquote free shows, and this was definitely a higher end on the free show spectrum, so I would definitely recommend it.
All right, so y'all want to kind of dive into what we've been watching over the last week or two?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to jump it off. I checked out The Tomorrow War, which is on Amazon Prime Video. It has Chris Pratt, and this story is where the world is stunned when a group of time travelers arrive from the year 2051 to deliver an urgent message. 30 years in the future, mankind is losing a global war against a deadly alien species. This is a popcorn, 90s sci-fi flick with awesome special effects. The story is just pretty much, it's one of those stories.
Awesome.
They are,
awesome.
The effects are dope, but it's one of those, hey, the world is going to get destroyed, we should save everybody, and then it turns into, hey, guy, go save your daughter. Nothing else matters. And it's like, for real, how about the earth matters? How about we save the earth first, buddy? But anyway, but the special effects are really dope. So I would say if you like Chris Pratt, it's solid. You're basically getting a watered down Star-Lord, but I thought that the movie was solid. The ending kind of surprised me, how it ended up with him and his daughter or whatever, but the effects down the stretch, I mean, it was just, it was totally solid. I don't know, have both of you seen it, or I know Christy has.
Yeah, actually, sorry, I just completely. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, that was weird. Sorry, you asked if I saw the Tomorrow War?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And I liked the monsters a lot in that one. I am not a big Chris Pratt person anymore.
Me neither.
Yeah, so that was and it was another one. This is just my humble opinion, but it was also a little bit longer than what it needed to be for what it was. Right? Like this is a monster alien movie. But no, I liked it well enough for free, quote unquote. So
Right.
I'm glad I saw it. It was something to watch, and like I said, the monsters were super fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially the mama monster at the end was pretty dope.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I did not like the ending. I did not like the cheesy ending, like the very, very, very end where he's like, "Here's what I've learned." Like, I don't fucking care. Like, why
Yeah.
are you even talking at the end? Like, that should be the end. That
Yeah.
say everything's good, you're good, of course, and we're all good. We don't need your life lessons like advertised at the end. And so, I almost felt like they were trying to pull the old wool over our eyes, like that Will Smith movie that was basically about Scientology or whatever. But anyway, that I liked them. I liked the concept. I thought it was different and I thought it was cool. Like nobody's ever, except for Terminator, like traveled back in time and been like, we need your help, to battle this, whatever. And then yes, the monsters were awesome. There was like no excuses about people. People died. Lots of people died. And there was some cool battle scenes. And yeah, but the ending, I was like, oh boy. And I recommended this movie to you while I was watching it after I saw the monsters. I was like, okay, these are good monsters. And then at the end, I was like, oh no. But it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay, so the next thing that I saw, this one was pretty good. It's on Hulu. It's called The Summer of Soul, and it's never before seen footage of the summer of 1969, where over the course of 6 weeks, you've got thousands and thousands of people who attend the Harlem Cultural Festival to celebrate, Black history, culture, music, and fashion. And you've got Stevie Wonder, The Fifth Dimension, Mahalia Jackson, Gladys Knight and the Pips, B.B. King, Sly and the Family Stones, Nina Simone, and just many, many others. It is super solid. If you want to see some live performances, like I said, on film, that basically I think it sat in a suitcase in a closet since 1969, and the footage, and it's great footage, and some great live performances. I would just recommend whenever we get off this show, if you've got Hulu, just, if anything, play it in the background, but you've got to watch it because you know that the clothes were dope.
Mm-hmm.
You know that the vibe, it's Harlem in 1969 and you've got all of this stuff going on. And it was actually a concert where the police during that era, there's always racial strife and all this stuff, different stuff going on. But actually this particular concert in Harlem, a lot of the police didn't want to show up to provide security. So the Black Panthers provided the security, for the festival over the 6 weeks. Please check it out. It's on Hulu and, it's definitely a 10 for me because just seeing this footage, seeing Gladys Knight, like when she was she was a newbie, it's Sly and the Family Stone just totally tore it down. So I recommend that. And then there was another horror movie that I saw. It's called A Classic Horror Story. It's also on Netflix, and it's about 5 people. They're traveling in a camper and they end up crashing into a tree. When they wake up and they recover, they find out that the road that they were driving on was replaced by an impenetrable forest and a wooden house that leads to their demise, and it ends up all being for entertainment. I thought that I thought it was pretty solid, and it showed me that, the Italians can put it down in the horror genre as well.
I'll check it out because I had thought about watching it the other day. So now that I have your recommendation, I will check it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Moni, what have you, tell us about this heist movie, which I almost clicked on a million times, but didn't.
Yeah, it's on Netflix and it's 2 episodes each story. So it's 3 stories, and they're real. They're true. And it's basically just exactly what it's called. It's really big scale heists where people almost got away. And it's first person, like the people who committed these heists talking about their role in it, how they almost got away and how they got caught and what the consequences were to their lives. It is fucking fascinating. I don't even want to spoil it and tell you too much more, but I highly, highly recommend it because we were like doing some stuff around the house, getting ready for some people to come over, and we ended up watching all 6 episodes in like a day, even with the kids running in and out. We didn't give a shit. We were just like, this is just like crazy. So check that one out on Netflix. Yeah. The Empty Man is like 2 years old movie or something like that. It's on HBO. It's another one that was longer than it needed to be. It was a good 2.5 hours. It has creepy elements. Did someone just fall over?
That's what I'm wondering. What is?
50?
Well, yeah. What?
You there?
What's up?
Are you wrestling a bag of boiled
Are there
peanuts
aliens?
or something? Because like
No. Really? No, I'm just sitting here. What's wrong? I don't hear anything.
Weird. It just started sounding like shuffling, like someone be two-stepping on our show here.
Sorry.
All good. It might not have been you then. I don't know. Anyway, The Empty Man, I don't recommend. It's got elements. It's got creepy moments, but 2.5 hours was a lot. Gunpowder Milkshake just dropped last week on Prime. I had been really excited to see this. It is in the same vein as like Baby Driver, John Wick, and Atomic Blonde. But John Wick and Atomic Blonde especially, are some of like almost my favorite movies. And Gunpowder Milkshake has that, it wants to be like that stylized fighting, and it's women, and it's they've got the library full of guns and all these things. Mm-hmm. And it's fun. It's worth a watch for, if you already have Prime. But I think I was more excited for it because of how they made it look in the previews. It's got the chick who plays Cersei Lannister in it. It's got some good, really great actresses. Actually, there's a whole slate of great actresses in it, but it's got some, it was men trying to write female characters too. And so their dialogue is really just like, that is not how people or women talk to one another. So it's really weird. It's okay. It's worth, a watch. American Horror Stories. Did you guys hear that the makers of American Horror Story made short stories over on Hulu? Okay. So they actually went back to the murder house from the first. Oh, wow. Yeah, so it's a family that moves into the murder house after the events of Murder House happened in their, in their reality. And it was just kind of funny too, because I just went to LA and we actually visited that house and took pictures, and then I watched the show like the next day. But it's okay. I was excited because American Horror Story has, to me, I don't think they have a really good idea, a well-driven way of doing one story per season. They kind of draw it out too much. But they have always had like elements, like scenes that were super creepy. So I thought that doing a shorter story would be creepier. It's an interesting story. The actors are great, but it's not, I didn't love it. Just leave it at that. And then there is Peacock is like free or cheap right now as an app to add. It has all the wrestling, like the WWE stuff, which is why my husband got it. But they also are starting to add a lot of true crime. They're trying to rival that Discovery Plus. And they've got Epstein's shadow, Ghislaine Maxwell, her story on there. It's interesting. It's heartbreaking. It's well done. But the ending all of a sudden takes a turn to sort of like, you should feel sorry for Maxwell, and I don't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit of a pisser. It's interesting. Again, worth a watch if you've got Peacock. And then something I really, 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 really enjoyed, and I just watched it last night. Paramount Plus is another app that's in the world, and they're doing a 7-day free trial through Amazon Prime. It's $9.99 a month after that. But so for free, I was actually able to watch A Quiet Place 2 at home. And honestly, it would have been nice to see that one in the theater because the sound editing, obviously it's quiet. So when they're speaking, sometimes you can't fucking hear them, and then you have it blaring when like the monsters come. but it was really well done. I would say it's easily as good as the first one. If you enjoyed the first one, maybe better. That's a really good movie, and I highly recommend it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ooh. Does it show how they escape the? It's like a time. It shows how they. Okay,
they do like a where they show like the first day the monsters came, and then the second scene in the film is picking up how they got out of their situation that they were in. So yeah, and they face a lot of other trials and tribulations, and there's a lot of cool jump scares and stuff. So I highly recommend. And then do you want me to do the Murdaugh murder updates now, or do you want me to wait till Christy talks about what she has been watching?
That's up to you.
Oh.
I'm good with it.
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt the flow of what I've been watching, but sure. We did that podcast last time we had a show on the Murdaugh murders, and I just wanted to give you guys an update because those have been trending and a lot of people have been looking for podcasts on the murders. Those redacted reports, the police reports that were demanded to be put out publicly were super, super redacted. So now there's local news sources suing the police department for redacting the reports. And their argument is the public's right to know and transparency and the fact that there are killers loose in this community still. On the flip side of that, and I'm just being devil's advocate here because usually I would be all for those things, but in this instance, it also reveals a lot about potential suspects and really got the rumor mill sort of going again. And some of the things that it revealed included that they are calling entry to the property a breaking and entering. And the reason that's legally and crime significant in this case is because that means that it wasn't someone who used a key. It wasn't someone who, like Christy had mentioned, it potentially was the groundskeeper who worked there. So it wasn't anybody who had access. Somebody actually committed the illegal action of breaking into the property on the evening in question. So that's very interesting from a standpoint of, like, if it was an inside job, then wouldn't a family member maybe tell the person who's going to go commit these murders, like, how to access the property? Or did they not, to make it not look like an inside job? Who knows? Another thing was there was an SUV found on the property. It was towed. It is not the family's SUV, and it has gone through DNA testing. We don't know the findings, but that was another redacted portion. And then just really quick, when you're like thinking about these types of cases and sometimes you come up with a new theory like out of nothing, I was actually wondering if the grandpa, the one who died 3 days after the murders took place, was the mastermind behind having the killings committed. And that would be because he was the one who was most active in the law enforcement and the legal system in that area. For the longest time, he was the one that had the most legacy to protect. I don't know what his relationship was to Paul, but Paul was a big threat to the family's legacy, the way he behaved. And now with the theory that Maggie, the wife, was planning to divorce, expose secrets, leave the family, take a lot of the wealth, Grandpa had cancer for a long time and was on his deathbed and may have wanted to, if he had gotten caught, he was going to die anyway. So why not mastermind a crime, basically pay somebody else to take care of this to protect the family's legacy and make sure his son keeps the family's money after he's gone.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
I was so slow coming off of mute, so I'm sorry.
I was like,
I know people are going to listen to this and like they are. Yeah, this 12 years
kicking today, all of us.
Okay, so Christy.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I watched of notable. I watched Only Lovers Left Alive. It has a 7.3 on IMDb. And it is a movie. It's a vampire movie. It is total and complete art house. So if you're not up for that, do not do not watch this movie if you're not into like art house stuff. I barely am. It was watchable. I enjoyed it ish enough. I wouldn't give it a 7.3, but it was good enough. It has Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton, and they're great. I love them. So I was, but I also knew what the movie was about, so I wasn't having huge expectations. It is set in the 1990s, and it's a depressed musician reunites with his lover. Though their romance, which has already endured several centuries, is disrupted by the arrival of her uncontrollable younger sister. So yeah, it's all about how Tilda is boss bitch, amazing, and Tom Hiddleston is basically her pet, and hijinks ensue, and they're vampires. So if you're up for like a weird kind of bizarre art house, check it out. Then I watched hold on. Okay, I turned it off. Whew. I have my AirPods on, and as I was talking, a trailer just randomly started playing, and I had to turn it off because I couldn't hear. So anyway, yes. So the next movie I watched was called Son, and it has a 5.6 on IMDb. And it is when a young boy contracts a mysterious illness, his mother must decide how far she will go to protect him from terrifying forces in her past. I liked this movie. I thought it was good. I'm not going to elaborate because I feel like when I do, their expectations rise, and then where are we then? So then y'all go, she's full of shit and this is horrible. So I thought it was fine. I thought it was a good movie, very watchable, interesting plot. She grew up in a cult, and so I'll just give you that little nugget of information, and escaped, and then had this son. So weird shit happens, and you're kind of, there's twists and interesting little dynamics going on, and I enjoyed it. So that's that.
Right.
Hey, I think we all had some pretty good recommends. I'm definitely will be excited when I see A Quiet Place 2 and the Gunpowder Milkshake. I would have never watched it had they not promoted it with Angela Bassett, Michelle Yeoh, and Lena Headey.
Yeah,
because you think that, and then
actresses.
it's like, and then you watch it and you're like, you don't really, see much of them, but. Yeah, well, I mean, they have their moments, but it's like you really would think that they were a little bit more involved. And I'm happy you said Atomic Blonde, because there are elements that you say remind you of that. And I was like, I would love to have seen Charlize Theron play that character. But anyway.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, but it's okay. It's one of those. It's another popcorn flick, I guess. I've never seen a movie that was written. Whoever wrote it where a ton of guys bring knives to gunfights, and I just didn't get that. I was like, why are all these guys why are all these guys with knives fighting like these assassins with guns? Like, I don't, but anyway, it's definitely worth a watch. Well, does anybody have anything to promote? I think I saw on your Twitter account, Moni, that you were doing the Importance of Graphic Novels podcast.
Oh my goodness. I'm doing so many of the things. Yes, I did a podcast for the importance of TTRPGs in education. I'm hosting a workshop for Reach Out and Read New York next week, virtual. And what else? There was something going. By the time this airs, they will be available on YouTube, but all weekend, this coming weekend, Creators Assemble team is all over San Diego Comic-Con. It was Comic-Con at home. It's another virtual, but we have several panels on there that you can go to creatorsassemble.org to check out where we're going to be, because we are the belles of the goddamn balls these days. Balls.
Speaking of balls, I have a podcast I would like to tell you about that I was on called Cheaties. Yes.
Oh yeah, I want to hear this.
I I was on the Cheaties podcast, and they are hilarious. It's two comedians, and I was a guest on it, and I told a story that was not my story, but I was involved in, and it involves a ball, one ball to be exact, and the
One
actual
ball to
name.
rule them all.
Yes, and they actually named the podcast episode "One Ball That's All." So if you go to Cheaties, which it looks like a Wheaties box is the logo, and it's two girls holding a knife, and it says
Nice.
Cheaties, then you will see me. And I am telling you the story that I tell. I am not allowed, and I had to tell it completely incognito of any, like, I was allowed to tell the story as long as I gave absolutely zero clues about who this is, because this is somebody that's close to me in my life. And it is absolutely the most fucking craziest story ever. It all happened during the pandemic, and Moni knows about it, I think. I told you, right? I
Yes,
told you about it.
it's a dishy ass story, and you guys need to go listen to it. I want to go do it again.
And so I finally got to tell the story, and I don't even think Moni knows the conclusion, but I have the conclusion to it, and it's a cheat. So basically, their entire podcast is around cheating, and the story that I'm telling is crazy, and so I was so excited I got to tell it, and I'm hoping I can get them on our podcast and they can do like their top 5 craziest cheating stories, because I just listened to one today where there were like murders involved. So I'm like, okay, this is paranormal or not paranormal, true crime. Like we can bring this under the true crime umbrella. So you guys go listen to Cheaties, and then go visit Altitude Adjustment Vacation Home Rentals. And if you let me know that you're renting my vacation property, as a listener, I will let you in on a little secret of some things I planted around the house for my my true crime and paranormal peeps. So, and that's that. That's all I got.
Oh, well, that's what's up. You know, everybody's been busy doing their things. So now the listeners have some decent recommendations. I hope everybody enjoys it. And is there any sneak peeks we want to reveal right now about what's going to happen on our next show, or are we going to let it marinate a little bit?
Is it my turn?
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know, I had to think about it. I have a lot. I have actually, surprisingly, I have several shows on the burner. I'm trying to figure out which one. The Cheaties hostess being one. I have a story about the Stormy Daniels shit that I've been dealing with. Moni knows about that. I've been debating about telling it. I've been given permission to tell it. I don't know how I turn that into an episode. I'm trying to figure it out. She's given me permission to talk about it. So that's a pretty weird and interesting situation. And then I've got some really good ideas, just topics that I've been researching. So I gotta think about it. Maybe we should do like a vote or something. I don't know. But yeah, so I can't give you an exact answer, but I'm definitely got a lot of good shit on the burner. I just need to pick one.
Love it.
Well, all right. Well, let's give our socials and roll up out this thing. You can follow me on Twitter at militant_marker.
I guess I'll go next. I am.
Oh, you were waiting for a lead? There was no lead yet.
We're just rolling infinity today. I am Moni Bear across the board, and also creatorsassemble.org is a good place to find me as well.
I am Creepin' at Christy on TikTok and Instagram, and then Creepin_it on Twitter, and Altitude Adjustment Vacation Home LLC on Instagram and Facebook. And that's, I guess, it. Yeah. Okay. That's it.
Well, it's been a pleasure as usual. And to everybody listening in, creep it real.